Hello and welcome to Navigating the Chapters of Channel with Tele. I hope you've had a great day today. I'm really excited about today because I've got an amazing guest in the studio with me today. I've got Debbie with me today. Debbie, say hello to the guests.
Oh, hi. Hi, everyone.
I said say hello to the guests. Say hello to the listeners.
And I said hi. Hello, listeners.
Hi. Yeah. And today's episode is about infertility, and it's a topic that's really dear to my heart and dear to Debbie as well. This is something that Debbie has been talking about for years and writing about. She has a blog about it, and she's going to be talking to us about infertility and everything that relates to infertility. Are you ready, Debbie? Ready for us?
Yes, I think so. Yes, I'll try my best.
Yeah. Okay. This topic is difficult for us to talk about sometimes because it's a like you said, it's more like a painful weight, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Painful weight. And when I was getting married, it never crossed my mind that it would be something that I would ever go through, because I just thought once you marry and you're ready to have your children, they just come.
It just happens.
It just happens.
No, I think I wrote about it in one of my posts, that it's just something that you just go into marriage as whenever age and just expect nature to take its course, but then
it doesn't happen that way.
No.
So I want you to talk to us about the emotional side of it first of all, because I remember when I was going through it, even though it was for a short period, all I could do was cry. Every month I would cry and cry and cry, but I didn't know what else to do, just to cry. How did you cope with it? How did you know, or when did you know there was a problem, and then how did you cope with it emotionally?
So that's quite a loaded question. So for me, it's like, just like you said, it was a total shock. We didn't even know, because prior to that we were on the pills trying to prevent it. So then at 28 I decided to come off the pills, and you'd expect, I was young, I was healthy, so there was no reason not to fall pregnant. So that was a shock. My husband and I used to laugh about it, that is going to happen. I think we're going to come to that later, about the age range when we should start trying. So it was a shock for us, but I think one of the ways I coped was having a very supportive spouse. It's key. Yeah. I can't stress that enough, because it's not my problem, it's our problem.
Yes, that's a big point.
It is a big point, and from our ethnicity, if you separate the issue and say it's a woman's issue, it's your issue, then you can't cope. So for me, I think I don't cry. I didn't cry. I can't recall crying, just like you.
I was a crybaby.
Yes, but I was just sad about that fact that it wasn't happening. Yeah. And I think it affected the way I then related to other people around me who had children. So I recall one of my friends getting married, and she gave me she was going to put me to be in charge, make me in charge of the children at her wedding, and I strongly refused. I said, I don't do kids. And I said no. She didn't understand why, and luckily she pulled me off. But I think we discussed about it later, and I said it was too painful. I didn't want to be so close to children, and because we weren't trying for a long time, a lot of people thought we still weren't trying, because another coping mechanism was to be defensive. When I'm asked, I just said it's none of your business, and just said, well, I don't see why I should tell you. So sort of shut down the conversation. So a lot of people, even family members, thought, they weren't trying, because my husband is very Western in his ways. So he didn't see how
that was anybody's business.
Yeah, so we were just like going about our lives. Settling, for me, I kind of shielded myself by putting up that shield, that front, that protective response to questions. Yeah. So that's how I coped, just being protective of my emotions and just having a well-prepared answer. So I wouldn't cry, but I remembered I even didn't go to any, from my ethnicity, you go to Bible studies, go to events where they say there's a miracle, there's a baby. I didn't go to any because I just didn't. It was
prayer meetings.
No. I was like, if God, I'm going to pray on my own. My prayer is as effective.
Yeah.
I didn't want to make it known. Like, it's nobody's business. Again, talking about not talking about it.
Yeah.
If you come out in those prayer meetings, it becomes known.
Yeah.
And I felt
we're good at hiding our problems.
Exactly.
And that's the problem that we have.
Yeah.
We don't talk about things that really affect us. Yeah. Okay. So you said something when you were talking now about age. What's age got to do with it?
Oh, everything. So there is, just like you got married early, I got married early, 25. We thought, you're going to have a child. That is... women, we are born with a finite number of eggs. That's how God made us. We can't, blame God for the way He's made us. He has His reasons. We're uniquely created. Yeah. So, and as you age, your eggs age with you. And at some point, they totally disappear. That's why menopause sets in. Yeah. So the body, the human body, especially that of a female, has been crafted to give birth, and our prime is, I actually read this before I came, it was between 22 and 28. That's your prime.
Wow.
You have
that's early.
That's early.
But in our time, we're encouraged to marry later.
Yeah.
So more or less
that's when
setting up people for failure.
Yeah, you should be just breeding at 22, 20.
Wow.
When you've barely left home, you've not had a job, you've not finished university. That's not to say you won't get pregnant, but it's just your prime. So medically, so I have to put a disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical expert. A lot of what I've written about are reading, especially I consult the NHS website, the Human Fertilization and Embryology Authority, which is the body that regulates IVF in the United Kingdom. So I did use a lot of their do a lot of my research on the things I talk about is based from those reputable sources. So that is key as a woman ages. So your prime is between that 22 and 30 really.
Okay.
So, but the advice is, if you are a couple, you've been married. So 80% of couples who are married and try and have intercourse consistently will get pregnant within a year.
Okay.
The other 20% will get pregnant within 2 years. That's having regular intercourse, no problems at all. There's no issue. That's between the ages of 18 and 30.
Yeah.
So, but the advice is, if you are under 35 and you are married, you should, and you've been trying to get pregnant for a year, you should seek medical, and it didn't happen, you should seek medical help. So there is a reason for that age, because you are expected to. So if you, going back to what I said about 80%, if you are trying for a baby, you're having intimacy regularly, 2 to 3 times a week, you should fall pregnant within a year. If it doesn't happen, then
you need to seek help.
Then over 35, just coming to that point, if you are married and you are over 35 and you're trying consistently, it should be 6 months.
Okay.
You should seek medical.
So after 6 months, seek help immediately.
Yes. If you are over 35. So you could see that age has everything to do with it. Going back to that question, there is a reason.
So we've talked about age from the women's point of view. Does age affect the men? Because I was listening to something this morning and they were saying that even men, after a while, the sperm loses something, I don't know, motility. I can't remember the motility, that's the word.
Yeah. So
age affects the men as well.
It does, but because it's not widely publicized, it's usually the women's issue that is. Women are the ones that speak up the most or seek help, that tell their partner, you know what, something's going on, I should be, and they will say, I'm fine. And it comes to going back to what you said about men's infertility. One of the biggest things that affects men is the quality of the sperm.
Yeah, the sperm, yeah.
Again, it ages. The older you go, it ages. It's not as I can't recall the exact figures, but they are the higher the motility, the higher the
The ability for the sperm to fertilize the egg.
Yes, yeah. They have a certain motility rate. The higher it is, the more easier it is to fertilize an egg. So as you grow older, it decreases and it becomes less potent, less powerful. So then again, other things that can affect men's the quality of the sperm, it's illness or drugs or something to do with the testicles and all of that, because the sperm is made by the pituitary glands. And I think there are two types of hormones that are produced, stimulating hormones, and I can't recall exactly the other one, but those two, if anything were to affect it, it will affect the quality, the fertility of the man.
You did say something about seeking help, and this is where I want us to dig in. First of all, talk about your own experience. What kind of help did you seek? What did you discover? And then why is it important for people to seek help? Because from where we come from, a lot of people just either pray or cry like me or hide in a corner and just hope. I don't do much about it. Or even after they've done one test and they say, oh, there's nothing wrong. They leave it there and they don't take any further action. Yes, it's good to pray. We're Christians, and this is a Christian program, but there is a place for prayer, and there's a place for taking action as well. Absolutely. So if you could talk to us about your own personal experience in that.
So, you're so correct, because during this journey, I've spoken to lots of people, friends, not people who aren't friends, even people who have reached out to me by virtue of the blog I write, about the years they've wasted, even knowing they had a problem. And it saddens me because there was no need for that. So maybe because I was married to somebody in the profession who had a very big influence in our decision. So for us, as soon as we decided we were going to start trying, and I was 28, so it was within a year, we went to my GP. I went to my GP, so it was within a year of trying. After a year, nothing was happening. Straight, I went to my GP. So, if you know you are not getting pregnant, just go to your medical practitioner. Just tell them. There is nothing stops you from carrying on praying. There are numerous testimonies of people who have sought help, and the next month they get pregnant. Yeah. Just start the process. Seek help. Find out. So there are things they would do. Your GP or your medical practitioner will recommend certain tests, just initial investigation, just to test your ovulation. And it's also recommended for men to come along, because they would not, certainly in this country, treat you or look at you without your spouse. Okay. It's not going to happen because it takes two. You are in a relationship, you're not getting pregnant. Why are you the only one coming? Yeah. So you would be tested. Are you ovulating properly, frequently? Are there all the issues? Do you have blocked fallopian tubes? For men, they will check the sperm counts. They will check the testicles. Are they healthy? Is there any issue that they need to start addressing? So when the results comes, certainly in my case, so nothing, you are fine, you have good health, just go and try, relax, which is a common misconception that you're not relaxed. That's why relaxation has got nothing to do with it.
But is that a misconception? Because again, I was listening to something this morning and they said, if your mind is not rested, it can't happen.
It's so often think that it's because you're not doing anything. What about the years I was relaxed? That's people who have never been on the pills. They weren't even thinking of getting pregnant, and it never happened. Because I had a friend like that. She said, for 3 years, I wonder why. It's not about relaxation. Yes, if you have a headache, you might be told to relax, but bear in mind that your body's been made to do a certain function. Yes, stress can affect your level of your mind and how you...
Maybe the hormones?
Yes, your hormones. But, for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, what sort of stress is that? So we need to be careful about dishing out, just relax. Because while that may be the case, you need to also... I was told to relax and to just chill out, but it wasn't...
Still wasn't happening.
I didn't chill out. We didn't... I was put on a treatment, which is the there's a ovulation drugs, because again they didn't know why. Everything is fine, you're okay, but we're gonna did the test. I had a keyhole surgery where they had to look to see again another thing, see the fallopian tubes are broke. Nothing. My husband's test all came clear, it was fine, so they didn't understand. But just maybe your body needed a bit of help. We got put on a ovulation drugs to help. Didn't work for 6 months. Time was going on, and so that led on to a series of investigations, further investigations, because it's from stage to stage. So you need to seek help early. Given the range I mentioned earlier, if you are under 35, within 1 year of trying. After 1 year of trying. If you are over 35,
6 months.
After 6 months of trying. And it's got to be both of you. And then work with your fertility specialist, your GP, who will then refer you on. I also need to mention this. You need to tell them what you want. So a lot of this seeking help, you need to do a lot of investigation on your own. I mean, in my time, in your time, there was no internet. I had to read books. There was a little bit of research I had to do. But now you have influences, you have a wealth of information, but be careful. I mean, the research I'm saying is look at, in your areas, look at the regulating body. So the NHS is a great place for resources, and the Human Fertilization and Embryological Authority, a great resource. They will tell you, they have a wealth of information available where you can use to find out what questions to ask of your practitioner and how you can then go forward. But your practitioner is always going to send you onwards for further investigation, and then you make the decision what sort of treatment you want.
Okay. So after the ovulation, 6 months ovulation treatment didn't work for you, what happened next?
When that failed, it didn't happen, went back to my doctor and said, well, I've been on this drug for 6 months, nothing's happened. The next stage kicking, we were referred to a specialist clinic for further investigation. So that's a fertility clinic, and this was at a university teaching hospital. Again, they had to do their own tests, and then the conclusion was that, well, there's nothing wrong with you, but anyway, we're going to offer you a course of IVF. So you could have IUI or IVF. So we went straight for IVF because...
Sorry, can I just ask, what's the difference between IUI and IVF?
So IUI is when the egg is fertilized inside the body. So it's quite... So I'll explain IVF first. IVF is when the egg is taken out of the body, put in a lab, put in a dish, and you wait until you get drugs to produce the egg, and you're fertilized, and then you put the embryo back. IUI, that's not. So you get given a course of injection, and then they will be testing you to see your optimum fertility point. Okay. And then you can then go in, and they would sort of insert the semen inside your body while you have released. So it's quite timed. So it's inside the body. It's fertilized, not done outside.
Outside, which is the IVF.
Yes, yes, in vitro fertilization. So it's not done outside. So that's the difference.
The difference between the
two. It's advisable for over 35s to go straight for IVF because it has a higher success rate. So I've had friends certainly who went, they didn't want it's cheaper, IUI, it's cheaper. Again, all of this has costs. There's a cost to it. So we straight away went for IVF. And that began the most stressful experiences of my life. It's really, really stressful. So we started on that. It's a whole process which we can't cover, but it's just a method of treatment.
Yeah.
We had the first one, went through all of that treatment, didn't work. And it was so...
painful, must have been painful.
It was so painful, but to see that I didn't have... The eggs that were extracted were so bad. Even at my
What do you mean the eggs were bad?
Exactly, this is what we don't know. There is a quality of eggs. So my eggs, I think the first one, there were 9 eggs that were extracted. So when they are taken out, they will then be observed in the lab for a couple of days. So they are meant to develop normally. So at the point of developing, then they will be fertilized. The sperm will be inserted in the dish. And then once the sperm is inserted, it will be observed for a day or two. And then you'll be called back if it's doing well to come in and to have them put back in you, because then the embryo will carry on developing inside of you, which is expected to lead to pregnancy. But in my case, the eggs were taken. They'll call you the night after or the day after it's taken. I said, oh, by the way, your eggs are doing well. None has fragmented. That's none has started developing without the sperm. That means. But in my case, they said, oh, yeah, we had 9 eggs, which was good because I knew then. And then I went on waiting for the call. And they said, unfortunately, only 5 made it. But out of that 5, they were fragmented. They've all started developing.
How did that make you feel? I would have felt like a failure.
Of course. That's one of the biggest things. I mean, one of the biggest things for women, women experiencing it's like they're a failure. Your body couldn't even be made to do the basic thing, even with help. For goodness sake, I was like, what? What is this? It's just, and they say, sorry, there's nothing to even fertilize. So you spend all that money, not even the money. Money is nothing to the emotion and the injections. The brutal treatment you've had for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And nothing came out of it.
That must have been crushing.
It was crushing. It really was. I think we booked a holiday to go away to deal with that.
That was going to be my next question. How did you deal with that?
Exactly.
That emotional.
Yeah, my husband, we booked a holiday and we went away. We came back and said, not to worry. And you can try again. And the clinic were like, oh, it's okay. The first time, sometimes it happens. It's just flushing your system, your eggs. And I'm like, really? That's not what I've been reading. It doesn't flush your system anyway. But I was so disappointed. The shock of it, I didn't go back immediately. You could go back after 3 months. I think we waited for 6 months and went back to the same place. And because we didn't have to go through our GPU, we went back to the same treatment center. And the same thing happened.
Again.
Wow. Again. I think even this time they had less eggs and it fragmented again. In fact, the second time was so bad. I couldn't believe my body could not. It was so bad. But looking back during my research, of course it was going to happen because they didn't do anything different than they did the first time.
Yeah.
And this is where led me to, remember I was diagnosed with unexplained infertility. Yes. I didn't have blocked tubes. I didn't have endometriosis. I didn't have cysts. I didn't have any of that. I was ovulating fine. So it was just shot in the dark. It's just treated. But then I knew something was not well, which we should all... I had a pre-existing health condition which nobody picked on. And in fairness to them, they were just treating everybody the same because that's how it works. Generally, if you are young, which I was, if you are healthy, if you undergo IVF treatment, it should work because it's just helping your body, just giving your body that extra push to do what it's meant to do medically because we are that advanced. So, but in my case, it was a special case, but nobody was looking at it. And then after that failed one, I thought, okay, I'm not going back to any public sector treatment. I'm going to find out there's something wrong. So that began your own personal research.
So it's important to say at this point that people need to take some extra steps. Don't just wait for them to tell you
what's wrong.
Yes. Because if, for instance, if they're saying it's unexplained, then there's definitely something wrong. Underlying that needs to be...
all the time. Sometimes, like I said, if you are assisted, your body is given that extra push, it would work.
Yeah.
But sometimes...
there might be something extra that needs to be done.
To be looked into, maybe tweaked and said, what is it about you? And then explore your family history and then a really, really good clinic whose sole specialty is dealing with women of all ages, ethnicity, would identify something in the blood test because they do a whole different blood works when I went to a third fertility clinic. So they would then look and then recommend certain treatment before the IVF treatment. itself.
Okay. So in your case, what was it that was the extra thing? You said you had an underlying health condition. So
Yeah.
what was it that was
the
problem?
I think at 23, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. So when I was growing up, I've always had pains on my joints. I would wake up at night screaming. I'd have this heat lotion applied. My parents would, it was just normal. And didn't think anything of it. But as I grew older, it was getting worse. So I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. I think at the point I went to the specialist, they thought I had lupus. And rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmunity deficiency.
Okay.
And it is
I didn't know that.
Yes, it is known to affect infertility.
Wow.
Yes, it is known
rheumatoid arthritis affects infertility.
Any autoimmunity illness, because your immune has to work with your body to to defend it against illness. Okay. So when it starts attacking your body, there's something wrong somewhere. So that was so I was put on a course of treatment, and those drugs would have been in the way because they were not easy treatment. They were potent, and I remembered being told that if I know I'm going to get pregnant, I shouldn't take those drugs. But that was earlier on when I was 25.
Okay.
At the time I was trying, I was...
28?
Yes, I had... then we're talking about 28, 29, 30, 31. Okay. I was of relatively good health. I was actually in remission because you have to go for constant blood checks. And the rheumatologist will, the checks will show how far you were when you were diagnosed and what your levels are. And it's similar to cancer. If you are well, they'll say you're in remission. I came off all the drugs. I was fine. But it doesn't mean I was cured because it doesn't have an illness. It doesn't have a treatment. It can be controlled. So the drugs has controlled it sufficiently for me to live a normal life. But when I knew I wasn't getting pregnant, that was at the back of my mind. So I started investigating, and I found a whole wealth of information. Some American institutions, even in the UK, the first pioneer of immune-based treatments for infertility. That just blew my mind away. And I remember there was a BBC program that was on, and they were talking about treatment. This was years ago. I was sitting there glued to my TV, and I said, I'm going to find this man. This is where I need to go, because he specializes on women over 35, and his rates were
success rate,
70% of women over 35, and now that is, you don't find it anywhere, especially women with difficulties, unexplained. So this was part of my research. I did an extensive research. I even bought his book. I read how the immunity has a big role to play. And I goes, this is it. So coming back, there was a period of 2 years after the second failed IVF where I didn't do anything, where I just thought, I was doing all this research. I was getting myself ready. But then I fell pregnant naturally twice, which was
This is how God does his things.
Exactly. It was shock.
So you were waiting for IVF and then you got pregnant.
Yes.
Naturally. God is just too good.
But then 3 months into it, I was like, okay, I can't feel anything anymore. So I went to...
So you lost the pregnancies?
Those two, yes. I had 2 failed IVF and I had 2 failed pregnancies. So it was like, this is not happening. It was...
How did you feel? Because you went for IVF twice, it failed.
Yes.
Then you got pregnant naturally by God's grace. And then
it failed. So the first time...
That must have been very, very, very hard.
It was very hard. It was really, really extremely... Because I was so excited. I said, oh, God, thank God. And even we were joking that maybe the drugs have opened the way for my body. They know what to do. But then I felt something was wrong. You would know. I said, something was wrong. I can't feel... One night I woke up, all the symptoms ceased, and I thought something is wrong. So I called the emergency line, and they said, come in. I had a scan. I said, oh, sorry. I could see the baby, but there was no heartbeat. This was at 15 weeks. And I was sitting there. They said, oh, so you could just let the body expel it, or you could go home. I didn't want to them to do a DNC. I said, I'll let the body explode, because I still had hope. I said, maybe the baby would kickstart again. But it didn't. And that was the worst bleeding I've had in my life. I could see chunks of clots.
Oh.
It's really graphic. So my apologies to anyone listening. But I just bled for 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yes.
Wow.
It stopped. The first 4 days was heavy. And you could, at one point, I'm sure I saw some of the fingers. It's horrible. Anybody who's had miscarriages, even late, who have had to let the body do it. I know that was 3 months, but it was forming. Because I could see it on the screen when they were showing me. Because you go for your scan at 12 weeks, right? Yeah, so. And then that happened.
That's gruesome.
Then, 4 months later, I felt pregnant again. I was like, wow, naturally. It was like, this is good. I was more hopeful. I said, okay, it won't happen.
This was the second one, yeah?
Yeah, the second one. And in all of this, my husband was saying, oh, it's good. Your body knows what to do now. At least you've never fallen pregnant before in your life. And suddenly, twice in a row. So he was saying the positives. I was like, that's not positive for me. This should stay. And again, all symptoms is at 10 weeks again. But this time we were due to go on a trip. This was in December, early December. But I can't remember now, 14 years ago. And they said, we can't go. And we're going very far out. We're going to Mauritius. And he said, you cannot go that far out to go and let it bleed. Nature take it, because they need to remove it. So I went for the scan. And one of our good friends actually came with me, which it was really lovely of her. I don't think she remembers now, and held my hand through, because my husband was at work. There was nobody around to assist me. So, and it was a day's procedure. It was taken care of. And then we flew out. And then after about 6 months, I revisited my research and goes, okay, this is happening now. I need to do something. Then I must have been about 35, 30. No, because I fell pregnant at 38 with my first daughter. Then, look, it was about 10 years. All of this was happening.
All of this was 10 whole years.
All of this was the emotional roller coaster.
Wow. How did you deal with all the Christmases, the Mother's Day, and all of that in those 10 years? Because it must have been a pull on your heartstrings. It must have been really, really hard.
Luckily, it's hard. I had friends who had suffered similar issues. But again, going back to what I did, I had a very, very coping mechanism. You all have to, we have to develop, we need to know ourselves. I'm a very strong personality, and I think God has gifted me with the ability to rationalize things and to say, well, if this is my cross, I'll bear it gladly. I have, I'm thankful. I have a husband who's not driving me out, who was my very, very, very strong defender. There's nothing as good as that. Yeah, I tell you. There was nobody who was going to, in fact, you couldn't even whisper it to his ears. It was not an issue you had to approach with me. Certainly nobody is going to approach it with him because of the way he is. But because he is known to be, we were in it together. I didn't feel like I needed to do something to defend myself. And we didn't need to explain. So we were living our lives the best we could. We had, lots of holidays, which we took. But I had some good friends who were in similar situation, and we bonded over that. So maybe there's Christmas, we would maybe go to the cinema together. We would book maybe a trip abroad. The three of us would, and we would just laugh over, because we had something in common.
So it's good to have a support. It's good to have a support group.
And when one of them fell pregnant, the other two of us, we went. It was like we were both pregnant. We did everything. We because she did fell pregnant by IVF, so I knew what she was going through. IUI, she did IUI, and we did everything. We had the baby shower was top notch, so we were involved in that. And then the second one fell pregnant, and I was the third. But we bonded over that. But then I also found support groups.
Did you feel left out when both of them had gotten pregnant and you didn't fall pregnant?
Yeah, I think because we're very close. One of the sayings they used to say, you are next in line. So I said, yes, I will be. I think I did feel, I'm human. A part of me felt, oh my God, this is really bad, especially when the second one didn't tell me on time. she wasn't in the same city at the time. She had relocated somewhere. And she forgot to tell me. So when the one who had the baby called me and said, have you spoken to her? I said, no, why? I said, no, I have to prepare you. And I go, no, she's pregnant, right? Why do you have to prepare me? Why do you have to?
So they were worrying about you as well.
Because she was worried because
she was worrying about you.
She hadn't told me, and it was coming to that 12th week. So when she saw me, so she called and said, you better tell her. And she was like, oh, I wasn't in town. And when I came into town, but it didn't matter anyway. I was excited for them. And so I coped as best as I could. I had a very busy life. I was traveling a lot with my friends. So you need to find something that works. With Easter, with Christmas, I just avoided those events. I don't have children. I don't need to be in church for nativity plays. I don't need to be in the shopping malls. I didn't need to go. So it was a way, and at some points I became this, it wasn't something that bothered me. Yeah. But luckily I had lots of good friends who had children who I think they were trying to compensate. They would buy me gifts for Christmas, maybe a household present, because I would buy their kids gifts, right? So they would want to do something in return. And they had baby showers. They had their own christening. I would attend. In fact, some of my friends would say to me, Debbie, when we were pregnant, you just spoiled us silly. You would cook. She was saying to me, one of my friends, she said, God, I ate so much, one of our traditional soup. I did, because you were always cooking. I was always there. I would organize. I think I was just being me. Yes, did I go back home and think, oh, God, when will he pay my time? Of course, you would do that. But... yeah. Again, I just comforted myself with my blessings. I had a very supportive spouse. My parents were excellent. My mom was just praying for me. No member of my family, and even my husband's family, none of them approached me because we went in the same locality. But again, even those who came, they were not. I didn't have to deal with the extra pressure, which some of those in our ethnicity would have had to deal with. But I did have pressure, even though the ones I put on myself. Yeah. Which is why isn't my body doing what it's meant to do? Yeah. What have I done wrong? What sins in my past? And I'm catching up on you. You will repent one. It's like the ones you did. If you go back and repent 100 times about some silly
100 million times.
Maybe that child, you looked scornfully in church. I was taking that extra biscuit. Why isn't the mom even, it's just nothing to do with that. So
this conversation could go on and on and on and on, and we're fast coming to the end of this session for today, but we will definitely have Debbie back on this show, definitely, because the story is not all gloomy. No. Yes, beautiful ending to it. Beautiful ending. Debbie has.
When I had those 2 miscarriages, I think I was 36. I thought, okay, this is now across the 35 years age bracket. Okay, time to visit this clinic. This person that has this clinic I've heard about. I just told my husband, I said, this is where I'm going for the next one. This is where we're going. So yes, fine. And then I went, and it was exactly as I read. They were very thorough. It was a private clinic somewhere in Harley Street. It was thorough. It was intense. I've had 2 previous treatments, but this was on a different level. The treatments were different before the IVF treatment began. And started the treatment 2010, and within 4 months fell pregnant. But I haven't even touched what went into that treatment. It was brutal.
We will come back to that another day.
But
definitely,
I fell pregnant, and I used to say, when I see a woman who gets pregnant naturally and they have the children, just be very grateful, because my pregnancy was from beginning to the end. I was anxious because I wanted this child to live. I mean, the first 3 months, certainly, I had injections every day. My bum, my bottom, my belly was sore. And I had to go for a daily blood test. Not locally, but on our way. Not only are you dealing with carrying a child, you're dealing with going all the things that could go wrong.
Stress.
Certainly, when I was told I was pregnant, because you have to go to the clinic, do the tests, and then they say, wander around. If it's positive, we will call you on the phone to come back for more tests. I was wandering around in John Lewis, and then I got the test. They wouldn't even tell you you're pregnant. They will tell you the level of hormones. You would know if it's high, you are pregnant. If it's low. And when I got the call, Mrs. Okoro, you know, would like you to come back. Your levels are higher, so we want to know. So that means I was pregnant. I called my husband. The hormones are good, so I'm not going back home from John Lewis. I went back, and that began the journey of my now 12-year-old daughter. So I had her, but so it's not all gloomy.
Yeah, not all gloomy. We will come back.
I prayed like I've never done before. But at that point, I stopped praying. But yeah, it's not all gloomy. But there was a process.
Yeah.
The wait was fraught with fear, anxiety, uncertainty, pain, all sorts. But
well, God is still good.
Yeah, God is still good. And who knows? No matter what we go through, there was a lesson, there was a reason, and I don't take that for granted.
Okay. Wow, what an interesting story. We've learnt a lot from this today. I mean, never would have known that rheumatoid arthritis could affect infertility.
And
not in my wildest dreams.
Yeah. So this is the thing. That's why they say, you know, there are steps you need to take to keep healthy. If you're diabetic, you know, you need to watch, you know, anything, whatever health condition you have, find out, research what's the impact on your ability to get pregnant. That's key.
Okay. So as we wind up, can you give the listeners, just anybody who's out there who's going through what you went through, just some word of encouragement, some words of hope, something to just keep them going?
It's important to have a strong faith in God and not to allow the influence of other people or your family or in-laws or whatever to impact on you. It's important to remain faithful to God. You know He's a good Father. You know what He's promised you. Hold on. One of the things that helped me, I forgot about that, I copied all the scriptures on infertility from the Bible, and I pray them every day. I had a book of them. Even now, I pray them over my children. When the Lord will bless you with the blessings of heaven above, with the blessings of the great deep blessing, I would pray them over me. Even when I can't pray, I was just reading scriptures. I had to encourage myself. So you need to have a good support system. If you can't find it where we're here, we can provide that support. We can refer you to organizations who can assist you. And also just be hopeful. It's key. Don't let anything steal your joy. It's so tempting. You don't be engrossed. I want to say, you know, people say infertility is not the be all and end up. For a woman trying, it is.
It is. It's a difficult thing. It's difficult.
It is.
Yeah.
But find things to do. Go out. Enjoy yourself while you're waiting. There is a period, because now I don't have any time.
Now you're going shuffling the children back and forth.
We would have thought.
Well, we thank God.
Yes.
We would have thought. Thank you so much, Debbie. It's been really good having you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to give you a shout out to Telly. She's been a support for me. So when I'm talking about a support network, she's one of them. I just want to thank you for honoring the call of God on your life to do this. And
thank you.
Yes, so keep it up.
Thank you.
It's been my pleasure.
So thank you, Debbie. So thank you everyone for listening to the show today. It was good to have you out there. Hope to see you again sometime soon. We're talking about other stuff. We might have Debbie again next week. Who knows? But she'll be coming back. Definitely will be coming again sometime soon. But thank you so much. And have a good day, everybody. And take care.